Welcome to One.
Hi, my name is Kai-Lan Olson. I'm a senior in Pearson College and I'm a neuroscience major. I've been dancing and playing the harp since I was a child, but it wasn't until I got to Yale that those interests really began to overlap. In this clip, I'm playing the harp for a piece that I choreographed with a different drum dance company. My goal in my choreography was really to blend the line between musician and dancer. I've often been frustrated that musicians are relegated to a corner of the stage or not visible at all. So I really wanted to allow the musicians and dancers to interact and respond to each other in this piece.
As a lifelong dancer and musician, what caused your interest in neuroscience?
When I was in high school, I was dancing ballet quite seriously, and I had a ballet-related injury that led me to see a physical therapist. And we were working really closely, and my work with her really transformed the way I move and the way I view my own body. So when I got to Yale, I decided to major in neuroscience because I really wanted to understand the neural underpinnings of pain and injury. And so I'm actually working in a lab right now that does just that.
So, as an enthusiastic advocate for collaboration between live music and dance, where do you see the creative push and pull between the two?
So there's definitely an element of compromise whenever you put musicians and dancers on stage together. There's the practical limitation of what an instrumentalist can and cannot do while they're playing their instrument. And then, of course, there's the space consideration of just purely having more bodies on stage at once. But I view these limitations as very generative, actually. And I think that working within this framework of what can a musician do or not do while they're playing their instrument can lead to really interesting results.
In the earlier clip that you shared with us, you were dancing with a different drum. Can you tell us about how you joined that group, who they are, and what other on-campus dance groups you're a part of?
I joined a different drum dance company during my junior year at Yale. It's kind of a funny journey because I initially started out very focused on the harp. I was a member of the Yale Symphony Orchestra and also took lessons with the harp professor at the Yale School of Music. But after 2 years of really focusing on the harp and not doing much dance, I was really drawn to a different drum dance company because they really encouraged their members to branch out and explore different styles. And I was ready to do something that was not ballet. But in addition to dancing with a different drum, I've also been part of the Yale Dance Lab, which invites a guest choreographer to set a new piece on Yale dancers every spring semester. And working with Vicky Schick, this year's guest choreographer, has also really helped me to branch out in my own choreographic style away from the traditional ballet that I focused on in high school.
How has your dance work specifically with a different drum changed the way that you move?
Because of my work with a different drum, as well as some other studies that I've taken in the dance studies department, I've become a lot more comfortable with moving in different ways and improvising. And that's also bled into my work as a harpist because similarly, I was trained in a very traditional classical way. And now I'm more interested in thinking about improvisation on the harp and that sort of thing.
How have you adapted artistically and scientifically during this period of physical distancing?
My thesis work was paused early because of physical distancing constraints, but I have been able to continue work on my thesis due to having lab meetings over Zoom, and I was also able to continue data analysis using a laptop that my lab very generously loaned me in order to have the particular piece of software that I needed to continue with analysis. And while we weren't able to finish collecting every single piece of data that I wanted, I still had enough to draw some sort of picture and draw some conclusions for my thesis. In terms of artistically, I've found myself doing a lot more dancing in small spaces and using my surroundings in more unusual ways that I normally would not think of if I was just in an open dance studio. In addition, I am quarantined with my sister, and we have been making short little 20-second dances throughout our time together. And so that's been a really unexpected and nice side effect of having time together with her. She's also a dancer. One of my future dreams is to open a studio that brings musicians, scientists, and dancers all together to help research injury prevention techniques. Myself, as well as my peers in both music and dance, have suffered from various injuries in our artistic careers. And I think bringing scientists in to the studio with these performing artists is one way that we could really make progress on injury prevention. And even maybe in the Schwarzman Center, where there is this new studio space, I could envision Yale's scientists and Yale's artistic community coming together to help with injury prevention.